Alright, welcome to another unboxing video. So for this video, we are going to be unboxing Rekka no Ryo or Ryo of the Wildfire or Ryo of the Wildfire off of Yoroiden Samurai Troopers or Ronin Warriors. So this is the Armorplus Renewal Edition. This was released back in November of 2022. No news yet on any of the Warlords or any other ones coming out yet. So this is the last of all of them, of the 5 main characters. For this figure, I paid 12,990 yen, and then I paid DHL shipping for 3,290 yen. Altogether, I paid $113.11. I paid for it on November 3rd, and then I paid for the shipping on November 29th. So yeah, I'm pretty excited trying to confirm whether or not I like the Armorplus line more than the Sentinel one. So I still have 3 more of these Sentinel ones, 2 of them that's going to be coming out later this year. And I have the Infernal Armor Sentinel one. So after this one, I'll be able to work on that one. So yeah, before I start this video, please hit the like buttons. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Please check out my blog at otakusen.com. Check out my anime channel, How to Animate Otakusen. And I also live streams on Monday nights at 10 p.m. Central. So if you guys want to join the stream and want to get involved and taking a look at anime figures, please join the Discord. Yeah guys, let's go ahead and unbox this figure. Just one paper layer right here, and then it has the bubble wrap at the bottom. There's bubble wrap around the box. Just like all the Armorplus boxes, you have your own special Bandai brown box with the logos on there, the Armorplus. It says Ryo of the Infernal Renewal Edition, but I mean, it's the red one. Same thing right here, Rekka no Ryo Armorplus. Alright, here we have the last of the Armorplus, and it ends with the Rekka no Ryo or the Ryo of Wildfire. So like all the other Armorplus boxes, it's the same kind of design with the foil font. You got the Tamashii Nations quality control sign right there, and instead of the special color edition, it's the Renewal edition. And there isn't really anything particularly of note about this one. About the box, it is just like any other ones. So yeah. Alright, so we are going to be doing the seated pose right here. So for step 1, we are going to be removing his head and then putting the arms on his body. Step 2, we are going to put on the body armor. So this part, you gotta take it apart first and then put it on his body here. And we're gonna put this top part of the armor over his head. For step 3, we're gonna put the body armor to complete that front part of his body armor and then the back part. And then you're just gonna clip it on. It just snaps right in. Step 4, we're going to put on the hip armor pieces. Alright, so I put the front part in first. It doesn't have a nice snap like the other pieces, but it looks like on the sides of the hip pieces, it's aligned pretty good. And then for step 5, to keep these hip places in place, we're going to put this little black piece to cover it to hold it into place. Alright, so we got one piece right there. Same thing on the other side. Alright, so they've been sliding in pretty easily on both sides. And then step 5, we're going to put on all the leg pieces, including that hip side armor piece.
On all the armor pieces, they're all labeled with a L or R, so just make sure you put on the L on the left side of the body. This is where the black piece comes into play. You're just going to align the hip piece on it. And it's attached. And then we'll do the right side of the body. Typically, the hip pieces have given me trouble in the past, but it's been pretty easy to connect it on this one. All right, so if there's any piece that's looses, it would be this left side piece. So step 7, we're going to put on all the arm and hand pieces. All right, got the arm pieces on, but once again, this left hip piece is loose. All right, step 8, we are going to put on the shoulder armor, and then we're going to put on the head armor. Once again, when putting on the shoulder armor, the left hip piece keeps falling off. Alright, for step 9, we are going to put on his swords and then attach it to his back. And on the swords, there's actually a little indent on the swords, and on the inside, there should be a little slot for it to kind of slide through. Then on the back of the body. Alright, so I got everything on his body. Two biggest things of note. This left hand piece armor is kind of loose, so this one does kind of fall out if you try to play around with it too much. And then the left hip piece is kind of a struggle. It's very easy for it to fall off, so if I just flick it a little bit too much, it's gonna fall off. So that is the biggest thing, at least on how loose it is on the sitting down pose part of the armor. All right, so now that we're done finishing the sitting down pose, we are gonna remove the armor, and then we're gonna put it on the body. I'm gonna do the build where he has both swords in his hands, not this specific one, but just holding to the swords on both of his hands. So first, step 1, we're gonna remove all the armor off the body as well as the sitting down one. All right, step 1, I took off all the armor. I actually switched neck pieces. So I didn't use the same one, I switched to a different neck piece. But for step 2, we're gonna put on the body armor and then the hip armor pieces. Here on step 3, when we put on the side armor here we're gonna take off, remember the little black piece, we're gonna take that off because we don't need that to attach it to the body armor figure itself. On the side armor for the hip, same thing for this one, we don't need that piece. All right, got the hip pieces on. So for step 4, we're gonna put on all the leg pieces. And then for step 5, all the arm pieces and the shoulder pad armor pieces. Again, put this back on. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other side of the arm. We're going to switch hands. We switch hands and then we put the armor on his arms and his shoulders. So for step 6, we are going to put on his head. And I guess I'm going to go for the angry looking face. Then the head goes on. If you guys can see right here, this back piece, the helmet is on kind of loose. I've been trying to tighten it up. It's been falling off, but it looks like it's on a little bit harder right now. So that's one thing to note. So the left hip piece and then the helmet right here has been kind of loose and falling off. But right now it's stayed on good enough, as well as the hip piece. And then here for step 7, we want us to put the swords on the back. But this is where we're going to diverge a little bit because I switch hands out. We're going to put actually swords into his hand. So let's do that. Right, and now we got these swords on him.
All right, so let's talk about this figure right here. So it does look like this is the Renewal edition. I was trying to figure out what that is. So there is a 2009 Armorplus one that was released then, and judging by the pictures, it looks like just to be like a remake of that one. And also another thing of note, there was this power up variant version that was released in 2011. The color on that one looks a little bit more of like a brighter reddish color, but this Renewal one and then the other Armorplus one, those look like to be a more of that metallic kind of color, a darker colored one. So someone asked the question about the Infernal Armorplus one, where that one actually came with extra sword pieces and an extra piece to go on the back of the armor. That one does look like it goes on this Renewal edition one. So I did try to put on the piece on the back and it did fit. But one thing to note about that one is the painting on that one is just a little bit darker. It's a little bit darker red than the one that I received. So if you did switch out those back armor pieces with the swords, there is a little bit of a difference there. But that doesn't really matter because this one right here, it does come with all the pieces that you need. Those are kind of like extra pieces that you could use on this one. And also on this Renewal Edition one, you can actually use some of the swords because we know the Infernal Armor one, he uses like 2 sets of different kind of swords throughout the show. So you can swap out and use different swords on that one. And this one comes with the double-edged sword where he does the flare up attack. When he does like the flare up attack, you could use those swords on the Infernal Armor one too. So there is a little bit of like crossing, I guess, that you could use on each on either one. So that's kind of cool. So let's just talk about the overall issues with this figure. And it's assembly wise, there are a couple things about the assembly. So what is the biggest issue on a majority of these figures? It's always the hip area. So the loose area that's on the left side of the Infernal Armor one, there's a similar concern on this red one where it's a little bit loose. You could tell by some of the mold, I guess, on it, it's kind of weak. Like it's a little bit curved over, so when you push it in, it doesn't stay completely in place. So if you do plan on like moving it around a little bit, if just touch it a little bit, there's a good chance that it might fall off. But the most important thing though is, can you put it into place and then just leave it there and it not fall over? So that would be my biggest concern. So at least you could put on the parts on the Infernal Armor one. In this Ryo Wildfire one, you could put on the hip piece and it will still stay there. But if you try to lift it up or move it around just a little bit to adjust parts of the figure, it's going to fall off. So if you do want to adjust the figure, most likely you're gonna have to deal with it falling off. So that's just my main point there. And one other kind of loose part is the head of his helmet. So that one looks like the back piece doesn't completely fit in and snap into place all the way, but it does still fit. Once again, with the left hip piece, if you try to move it a little bit, adjust it, there's a chance that it might fall off as well. So those are my two biggest concerns. But other than that, guys, I love everything about this figure. But, you know, I am a fan of the die cast. I'm a fan of the metal parts of this figure. So the armor has kind of like this glossiness to it. And that's what I like a lot about the Sentinel one. So this Ryo one, I like how it looks aesthetically. I have yet found anything that's like painted off that's like completely wrong. Usually with these action figures, it's always going to be places because you're removing and replacing and constantly moving around parts of the figure. Those are going to be in obvious places where the paint or something, a little scuff here and there, and that's just how action figures work. And that's fine because most of those parts are going to be covered up. I mean, there's only one part of his arm where I saw maybe a little bit of red paint got onto his arm, but that is pretty much it. So in general, I'm pretty happy about how this figure is painted on all the parts. And, you know, I can safely say I'm a fan of these figures. Like, I think these are figures, if you are a fan of Ronin Warriors, that this is fine to get. And I know a lot of people, especially the older ones, the older versions, people had a lot of issues with it. But in terms of what I've received and everything, any issue that I ran into is something that I can deal with, even with the loose parts. Like I said, as long as it stays in place, which it does when you put it together and however you want to configure it, it stays in place. I swapped off the hands. I didn't really have an issue with swapping out the hands. The two swords that you put on the back, I didn't have an issue with that. And then I put the two swords into his hands and there was no issue there as well. Assembling this figure was relatively easy. Judging by the first time I put together the Infernal Armor one, the Armorplus one, you know, I had a ton of issues. This is my first time building these figures. And at this point, like, you'll be able to kind of adjust as you play around with it. And these ones are very easy to put together at this point. And it's just the joints, and when you swap out the hands and then the neck, of course, those things they're always going to be hard to kind of like to put into place, but it still fits fine. You just want to make sure you take out all the armor parts before you try to put on different hands, because you're going to need a good grip, and with the armor on, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to break the armor parts. You're going to break the figure. So to switch out the hands, make sure it's bare first. And then it came with like two face sculpts, and the stock face one is my favorite one. He looks just like the character, so that's the most important. On this one, with his face looking a little bit more angry, it does look a little bit off. And then the mold or the little paint, can't tell, probably both. Like on the side of his face, it's a little bit messy around his ears, but with the armor on his head, like you're not gonna tell. But that might be something of concern if you don't wear the armor helmet. But I kind of think of these things as very, very minor. The biggest things is, how does he look with the armor on? And I think he looks amazing, and I'm freaking happy, you know. Like 20 years, 30 years later, we still get these Ronin Warrior figures, and they keep releasing it every now and then. About every decade, you know, we're going to get one of these. So super, super excited. 30 years, guys. You know, I can't be mad at it. As an older adult now, being able to collect these things from your childhood is an awesome feeling, is a nostalgic feeling, and it brings happiness, right? So yeah, I didn't really have a big issue with anything in particular that I deemed to be noteworthy of not buying it. So I'll just say that. Would I recommend this one? Until I get the Sentinel one, I can't really say for sure whether you should get the Sentinel one or this one, but I'm fine if you got this one, and especially for the Japanese prices. For 113 bucks, guys, that's with DHL shipping, so it's quite possible you got this maybe more towards like 100 bucks with like boat shipping or something. So very happy with the price. So the American prices, you're paying probably more closer to like 200 bucks. That is a big gap between that and the especially the Sentinel one, which probably cost you more towards $150. Depending on what price you paid, that is a huge factor in it. But if you got the Japanese prices, of course, happy with it, happy with the quality of it. There's a couple concerns, and especially the hip one, but most importantly, it does still stay on when you need it to be stationary. So overall, I'm still happy with Armorplus. I still do like it more than the Sentinel ones, but until I get the other Sentinels in, and then I do the other Infernal Armor Sentinel one, I can't say for sure, but right now I still lean towards Armorplus, and I'm happy with it, happy with the price. And yeah, that is pretty much all I have to say. Let me know what you guys think about this action figure. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Armorplus versus the Sentinel ones. I would love to know. If you guys have the older ones, let me know how the older ones are. And if you do have the newer ones, let me know what the differences are. And if you guys have any pictures of the older ones, or if you guys have pictures of the new ones, let me know. Give me a link. You know, I would love to kind of take a look at it. So other than that, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Check out my blog at otakusin.com. Check out my live streams at 10 p.m. Central. And check out my anime channel, Otakusin How to Anime. Once again, I appreciate you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video.